Hey there, welcome to Main Street Living. I am Cheryl Nelson.
Hey guys, I'm Quincy Carr.
And I'm Danielle Alvari.
I am so glad, Danielle, Quincy, that things are opening up even more. We're heading back out to the ballpark. Baseball memories, gosh, I have so many good ones. What about you guys? Danielle, I know you do a lot of sports.
Yeah, I used to actually cover minor league baseball in the Bay Area for the San Jose Giants. And so I loved doing that and getting to talk to the players. We'll get to visit with the minor league team a little bit later on. But I also have been hit with the water as well at the park during an interview. Which is a favorite memory, definitely. Quincy, what about you?
Yeah, that's a great photo.
We've got a local team here called the Norfolk Tides, and the last time we went is when our daughter was still afraid of the mascot. So every time the mascot would walk around, she'd be like,
"Oh yeah, it's hit or miss with kids."
Right. Yeah, but
that is so cute. And that's right here in Norfolk, Virginia. And for me, I have family roots in New England. So I spent some time at Fenway Park, of course, in Boston, Massachusetts, home of the Red Sox. And
the wall.
Oh my gosh, the Green Monster, the wall. It brings back so many memories for me. And I loved going to Red Sox Yankee games there at Fenway. Those were the best because the Yankee fans, they would boo and they'd be so angry. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
They're
known for that.
Yeah, I know. Lots of good stuff there, but it definitely is great weather for baseball, and I'm so glad we're heading into summer.
Yeah, definitely.
And speaking of summer, we're going to be talking about baseball later in the show. We've got a great show lined up for you today here on Main Street Living. If you guys like musicals, you want to learn about a very innovative way to put one on.
That's right, and we find out why CASA is looking for more volunteers.
But first, right here at Cox, we're taking everything one shot at a time. So stick with us right here on Main Street Living. Welcome back into Main Street Living. Quincy, Cheryl, I don't think a lot of people know who watch the show that we are all in different parts of the country here. And wherever we are, Cox employees passionate about giving back to communities where we live and work.
Oh, it's so wonderful that Cox employees do that. And during the pandemic, of course, most of the volunteer efforts were confined to virtual only. So when the chance to help out with vaccinations occurred, Cox employees jumped into action, eager to lend a hand to a great cause. Here's a look at their efforts in San Diego.
So SHARP has, I believe, 5 vaccination sites throughout the county, and we see anywhere from, depending on the day, like 700 to 2,000, 2,500 people a day to do vaccinations. We've been doing this since January, and we are incredibly dependent on volunteers.
Our employees are incredibly passionate about volunteering, and obviously before the pandemic, there were lots of opportunities to get hands-on and volunteer in our communities. When the pandemic started, the volunteer opportunities were really non-existent, and those that were all virtual. Our employees expressed a very strong desire and eagerness to get back into the community hands-on and do something in person. And we were finally able to work with SHARP and get this incredible opportunity going to support their vaccination centers.
We've been working at home for the last 12, 14 months, and this is the first chance that we've had to be able to go out into the community and support this great cause.
Right over here, have your card and your ID.
We utilize the volunteers in basically every capacity, whether it's outside, checking just to confirm appointments, registration, wayfinding throughout, monitoring area in the back after the vaccination. We also have, volunteer vaccinators. So the entire site is probably, I would say, 80 to 90% volunteer based, and we just couldn't do it without them.
It had been so long since we've been able to do any kind of in-person volunteering, and this seemed like a really kind of good, fun way to do it, to get into the spirit of, hey, we're all in this together. So this was a really kind of a neat opportunity that I didn't want to pass up.
My role is I'm directing folks to come between Moderna and Pfizer vaccine. I'm making sure that they are sitting at the proper table to get the proper vaccination, and also being a cheerleader. Woo! I mean, why wouldn't you be here being excited about it? Come on down, we got room over here.
Our employees are passionate about supporting the communities where they live and work and supporting the customers who live and work in those communities. So today we're able to support them by managing the flow of traffic. We're helping people find where they need to go. and we're also managing the waiting area post-vaccine.
I think it's really cool to be able to, take time out of what would normally be my work day to give back. I think that's a really important thing that a company could advocate for. So I love it. I think it's great.
I feel very fortunate. I've been with Cox for 23 years, and this is one of the great opportunities that Cox allows us to come out in the community and to support the local community.
We want to make it incredibly easy for folks who want to get the vaccine to get the vaccine. And we also really want to support the medical professionals and volunteers who've been doing this for months. They are definitely burned out. And so anything that we can do to make the journey less stressful for everyone is definitely a big win.
Oh, and this is just one of the many projects you will find Cox employees connecting with in their communities. In Las Vegas, employees are creating a virtual back-to-school fair. We'll have more on that next month.
That's right, Cheryl and Danielle. To some, this month is a celebration of the summer season, especially as COVID restrictions are being lifted. And to many others, it's also Pride Month in June. So stick around and hear a little history behind it after the break. Hey, welcome back to Main Street Living. Danielle, Cheryl, for many Americans, Pride Month is a very, very important celebration in the month of June. But did you ladies know it started to honor the 1969 Stonewall riots?
That's right. The event began as patrons and supporters of the Stonewall Inn in New York City staged an uprising to resist the police harassment of LGBTQ Americans. So today's celebrations include activities like parades, concerts, as well as workshops. And here to talk all about the importance of these events, we have Jen LaBarbera. Jen, thanks so much for joining us on Main Street Living.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So Jen, first things first, we know you work with San Diego Pride. Can you tell us a little bit about your role?
Sure. I'm the Education and Advocacy Manager at San Diego Pride. So that encompasses a whole lot of things. We have about, give or take every year, about 25 different education and advocacy programs that run throughout the year, which of course, kind of our start and end of the year always is in July at San Diego Pride.
Okay, and some of us may not know the meaning and significance of Pride Month. I'm so glad that there is a Pride Month. Explain that a little bit.
Sure. So as y'all already pointed out, it does commemorate Stonewall. So this was a 3-day riot in 1969, starting on June 28th, 1969, at the Stonewall Inn, which is a gay bar in New York City, actually still a gay bar today. And it was a fight back against the very regular police raids on LGBTQ establishments and LGBTQ groups. It was illegal at that point to be gay. In the state of California, it was actually still legal to lobotomize gay men, and that happened pretty regularly. And so, this was in 1969. It wasn't the first time that we had fought back, but there was something about that night, about that riot, that really kind of ignited a whole movement. And so now, annually in June, we commemorate that, both the roots of Pride as a protest, as protest against state-sanctioned police violence. And then also it's really grown into this beautiful celebration of our full selves as well.
That's amazing. I mean, I think a lot of people don't know the story behind Pride, why it's done in June. And it's really cool to hear that Stonewall is still a gay bar where people can go. How can someone who's not a member of the LGBTQ community plus become an effective ally for their friends or their family members?
Yeah, so I do pretty regular trainings as one of the many programs that we do at San Diego Pride. I do pretty regular trainings on LGBTQ inclusivity. And this is often the question that, people really want to get to is, okay, how do I be a good ally? How do I be an active ally? And the key word there is active, right? It's not enough to just say, oh, I have a gay friend, I have a trans friend. Being an ally really is about fighting back against that transphobia, homophobia, biphobia that we see both casually and really explicitly in legislation, right? So it's about having those hard conversations with your mom, with your uncle when they say something offensive. It's talking to your bosses about saying, hey, I noticed on our forms that we have to fill out, there's only 2 gender markers. In the state of California, there are plenty of folks that actually have X on their driver's licenses to indicate non-binary or intersex status. So maybe we need to update our forms, right? It's taking those active steps and ultimately just respecting and understanding the LGBTQ people in your life.
Are you finding that a lot of businesses are supporting Pride Month and everything that you're doing, or is it still a struggle?
Yes, and both, both for sure. So, right, like we've, you look around, you look on Twitter, and it seems like every single company has changed their logo to a rainbow this month, which is great for visibility, right? I'm not saying that that is absolutely wrong. It is one step, though. It is only one piece of it. So, it is, Target has their like questionably fashionable Pride collection this year, which they've had for about 5 or 6 years now, right? And if I were growing up, going into Target, seeing that would have meant a lot, right? That would have been really affirming for me as a very young queer person. And right, like we are also seeing a lot of these companies that are putting and businesses that are putting rainbows in their logos, but not really backing them up with action. Maybe their employees still don't have access to gender affirming care in their insurance. Maybe they're still bankrolling politicians that are actively putting out legislation that is anti-LGBTQ. This year alone, we've seen over 250 pieces of legislation across the country that attack the LGBTQ community, particularly focused on transgender youth.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, obviously you have a lot more information than we have time to get out of you. So where can people find some more information, some good resources?
Sure. So San Diego Pride, unlike the rest of the country, we actually celebrate Pride in July, in part to avoid June gloom, but also primarily to like coordinate with the other Prides around our region, right? So we're not all stepping on each other's toes. So our Pride events are coming up in July. The state is just reopened. So a lot of our events will be we won't have our capacity limits, but we're still a little bit more scaled back than normal. But if you go to sdpride.org/pride, you can find all of the events. We have about 25 different events that will be happening throughout Pride Week in July.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, for being here today. We appreciate it. And we've got a lot more ahead on Main Street. We will tell you more about one of the top cancer care centers in the country. Stay with us.
Hey, welcome back to Main Street Living. Ladies, I know cancer can strike people who are young, old, the physically fit, as well as the weak. Sadly, it knows no boundaries,
That's right. And at UCSD Moore's Cancer Center, they believe that cancer care should be as unique as you are. Their exceptional blend of research and patient care make them one of the top cancer care facilities in the country. Let's take a look at their bench to bedside approach.
Moore's Cancer Center is the only comprehensive cancer center in San Diego, which has NCI designation, which NCI stands for National Cancer Institute. And this is designated to only the highest possible ratings for cancer centers in the country. And that means that it's experts in every medical subspecialty pushing boundaries for difficult to treat cancers. We have a unique blend of cancer research and patient care, which really helps us take care of the whole patient from bench to bedside interventions with the latest research, and we're really pushing the boundaries to treat each individual cancer as much as possible. We're very proud of our leadership here in the community at UCSD. We just got accreditation from the National Accreditation Program for Rectal Cancer, which really shows our multidisciplinary approach and that we're treating not just one cancer, but the patient, and that we're treating each cancer uniquely and that we're at high level and care. We recognize that no two patients and no two cancers are alike. And so we really feel that cancer care is as unique as you. So you as the patient, and we take each patient as an individual. We treat them as individuals. We really listen to their needs and concerns, create an environment that's healing with gardens and supportive environment. And so we really feel like we want to treat both the patient, mind, and body with the whole patient. We treat all types of cancers, from the common types to extremely rare cancers. Our physicians are setting treatment standards nationwide for more than 200 types of cancers. But the most important cancer that we treat is yours. And we also work as a multidisciplinary approach. So when you see one of our doctors, you're going to see all of the doctors that are treating your cancers: radiation oncology, medical oncology, and surgeons will all be on a team that work to treat your cancer. When we put in the time and care into our patients, they really appreciate it. They feel grateful. When we take the time to really talk to them, I feel like they feel heard and feel like we're really listening to them and that we're helping them really beat this cancer diagnosis and helping them be stronger and feel better about the outcomes.
And to learn more about their cancer care or screenings, check out their website, health.ucsd.edu/cancer. Well, coming up next on Main Street Living, we will let you know what's new at the ballpark. You don't want to miss this. Welcome back to Main Street Living. Danielle, Quincy, nothing says summer quite like a trip to a local ballpark. We just love it.
Yes, and we talked about it in our first block today. We love going to the ballpark. The food, the in-game entertainment, it all adds up to a great, memorable moments for families each season. And one of the best places to take in a game is the home of the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, a AA affiliate of the Marlins. Joining us is president of the Blue Wahoos, Jonathan Griffith. Hello and welcome to Main Street Living.
Hey, thanks for having me on today.
So the season is underway for you guys. How are the Blue Wahoos looking this year?
You know, we're actually a pretty good baseball team this year, which is something we don't normally talk about because we can't control that. But, you know, we always say we're undefeated in the fan service and the customer service and the fan experience out here. So it's been a great year so far for us.
Yeah, you know, and that's so good to see, especially for the fans as well as for the, you know, the athletes. And like so many sporting events last year, baseball did not happen for the Blue Wahoos team. However, your owner came up with a pretty cool, creative way to utilize the ballpark. Tell us about this Airbnb idea.
Yeah, you know, it was one of the things that our ownership, you know, our whole mission is to improve the quality of life. And one of the things was to not lay people off. And so we didn't lay anybody off all year. And how can we still keep production going? And we came up with Airbnb and made the entire stadium an Airbnb where you can come out and rent the stadium and up to 20 people, and you stay in the clubhouses and kind of live like a ball player, and you get to use the field, get to use the batting cages. We have chefs here, so you could have meals prepared. So just an awesome, great experience for people to come.
That's pretty creative. Yeah.
And we had people from 37 different states. And, you know, the most creative thing was teaching our PR guy how to make beds because we all had different jobs, right? So he had to get out there and start making them. So it was really a great time. And we still have it going on once the players get out of town. With COVID protocols right now, we can't do it while the players are in here. But we do plan on keeping that going because it was so much fun and we got such great feedback from it.
Nice.
Wow. So you guys were able to not lay anybody off, but obviously made some transitions in the job. What was that transition like for everybody?
You know, it was rough. You know, I'm not going to lie. I mean, we were out there, you know, we're paid to do, you know, PR or sales and things like that. Yeah. And we're now, you know, housekeeping, you know, and that's really what it was. But, you know, we also had the fun times. I got to, you know, throw BP. Like, you always want to be out there on the field and getting to enjoy that as well. So, you know, it was really a tough time for everybody in the country, you know, and we still lost quite a bit of money as an organization. But it was one that to live up to our mission to make sure that we're keeping that commitment is what our ownership decided to do. And we did a lot of creative things, Airbnbs, and we became a golf course. We became all types of things here. And it was really an amazing time that I never want to live again.
A lot of creative ideas came out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jonathan, like one of the things the minor league baseball is really known for is the atmosphere, of course. And on Thursday, you guys are having what's called a Mullet Thursday. So explain how this works. I see the fish on your shirt and everything.
Yeah. Well, yeah, down here in Pensacola, the mullet is a big deal for our culture down here. Everybody eats the mullet down here. It was something, I'm from the DC area, so it was new to me. And so I learned a lot about mullet. And of course, I knew about the hairdo. So it's one of those things that we kind of came up with a little connection of both and added it to a Thursday night. And we wear cool uniforms where they actually have the hair on the back of the uniform.
Yeah.
And, people have really gotten into it. We've had mullet competition. I've seen more mullets this year than I ever thought the hairdo in my entire life. And then, of course, our chef comes up with some cool cuisine kind of things as well for the mullet. There's mullet soup. There's mullet. It almost feels like Forrest Gump. There's a shrimp boil, everything. We have that for mullet. There's a mullet for everything. So we really get into it and have a good time with it.
Well, based on where you guys are located, obviously, you must have a lot of great seafood options. I know ballparks are often known for their creative use of food, and you have something called Crabzilla. What is this?
Yeah, we really took advantage of this one as well. It was one that we wanted to have that over-the-top sandwich, something that really fits for here as well. And Crabzilla actually won an award in 2019 as the best food in all of sports. It was like the newest creation. That to the point that we're even coming out this year, we're going to have our own uniforms, Crabzilla uniforms, and wear them out there to even the point. We'll be the first team to ever have uniforms where the crab's on the butt. So when the players run out there, you see a crab going across there. So we're going to, try to take advantage of it as well and just get people excited. But it's a $15 sandwich that you have to actually call in beforehand because it takes 20.
Wow.
Everything is freshly done. It's a hard, soft shell crab. And then every piece of seafood that you can imagine on it as well. And they top it off with a good old hash brown on the top of it. So it is a heart attack to happen, but it's one that, you don't eat it alone. We have had competitions. If you can eat this whole thing within 5 minutes, it's free and you get a t-shirt kind of thing. But we don't recommend it.
So you've got the activities for the adults, and I know you've got some cool activities for the kids. To talk about this cockroach, was it a cockroach run or something?
It is. We get a guy in a cockroach outfit and comes out there and kind of dances around, and then we normally let anywhere from 500 to 1,000 kids run across the field. And you have to check out our Facebook page. We just did where he did a selfie stick and went running across the field. It is one of the most funniest things I ever seen because there's a father with their kid in his arm trying to catch him, and then went up to him and said, "I'll be here next week because I'm going to get you," that kind of thing. So it's really a fun thing that, the kids really enjoy it. And it's one of those things that we were coming up with ideas. What could we do fun? And somehow we came up with a cockroach running across the field. Nobody really likes the cockroach. Everybody feels if you tackle a cockroach, wouldn't that be a good thing? But it actually becomes kind of a bad thing because every now and then there'll be an intern running across that field and they'll get a little bit of a tackle and grass burn. So.
Yeah, we've all been the intern before.
Right.
If you guys haven't been to a minor league baseball game, I used to do some sideline for the San Jose Giants, and so it's a lot of fun. Like, you guys do so many fun activities that you don't get to see at regular ballparks, so everyone really should get out and see one. I do understand you have a new team member as well, maybe of the furry variety.
We do. Watson, he's actually here today out on the field. This is something that we teamed up with those folks, and it's all about getting support dogs. And so we're trying to help with that and get a little bit of exposure as well of how much goes into, working with the dogs and everything as well. Like simple things like not knowing the dog shouldn't lick your face. Our PR person had it licking their face and we got in trouble. So you just learn a lot about that, not feed the dog, treats, those type of things. But we're always trying to help the community. And this was one of the things that was brought to our attention that we could help and help people know that they could also get dogs like this and help train them. And because there's a need for it here in our community, for those folks. So it's really a fun thing. And of course, with Bubba Watson being part owner of the team, it just makes sense to have a Watson dog, right?
Very cool.
There you go. And where can people get more information about checking out the Blue Wahoos this year?
Yeah, go to bluewahoos.com and all the information's on there as far as tickets, all the fun promotions and the crazy things we do. And, we have a great community down here, great beaches. And of course, a great ball game. I would tell everybody, come to the beach, and then at night you have nothing else to do, so come hang out with us and see some fireworks and have a great time.
You got
Definitely.
it. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for stopping by, and good luck to the Blue Wahoos this year.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me on. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all.
No problem. Danielle, one thing sports will do for us adults is allow the kid inside to live again. And of course, when we come back, what if you had the opportunity to actually change a child's life? Well, that'll be some great info I can't wait to see up next.
Welcome back into Main Street Living. Quincy, Cheryl, one of the things we love to do on the show is to give a voice to someone who might be in a situation where they're feeling voiceless.
That's right. You probably have heard of the CASA, which stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. It's a volunteer program that supports and gives a voice to children who have been abused or neglected and who, through no fault of their own, find themselves involved with the child welfare system. Now, Rhode Island CASA is one of almost 950 such programs throughout the country. They're working tirelessly to ensure that vulnerable children do not fall through the cracks and, of course, fall through the cracks of a system designed to protect them. So joining us today is Rhode Island Family Court Associate Justice Leah Stolzatz. Welcome to Main Street Living. How are you doing today?
Oh, very well. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your interest in featuring this. It's very timely, particularly because it is Pride Month, so I'm very proud to be here. So thank you very much.
No problem. Now, Leah, how important is the organization like Rhode Island CASA to children who become involved in your state's child welfare system?
Well, it's a vital role in two ways. The volunteer can be the lifeline of the child outside of court. I mean, it's an adult who's accountable to them, who's following and connecting with them on a personal level. But for my purposes as a judge on the calendar, it's the CASA volunteer who gives a voice to the child in the court proceedings. I mean, children do not typically come to court. It is an adult atmosphere. I don't think that would be appropriate and could possibly be traumatic for children. But because a CASA volunteer who's formed a connection with a child can let me know directly, based on their personal contact, how the child is feeling, what's their perspective on the decisions I'm being asked to make, what's their experience with the service providers, is there a letter they want to write to the court, is this something that a volunteer could help them with? I mean, I have sometimes a dozen adults telling me about all different aspects of the case, and it's the CASA volunteer who's helping me keep the focus on the child. And so it's a vital role. I mean, I'm so grateful when there's a volunteer on a case because I know that piece is going to be met.
Yes, I have a lot of friends who volunteer with CASA, and it definitely is wonderful the work that they're doing. And as you mentioned, you're a judge in the family court in Rhode Island. And can you tell us a little bit about the types of cases that come before you and how they benefit from the participation of a CASA volunteer advocate?
Well, I'm assigned to the DCYF calendar, which I think most people are familiar with. This is the Child Protective Agency in our state that is tasked with removing children if they're deemed to be in harm's way, and then offering services to the family to hopefully reunify. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of trauma on that calendar. The legal decision to sanction the removal of a child may be necessary on an emergency basis, and we may feel good the child's out of harm's way for the moment, but the work is really just beginning with that family. And these children are experiencing separation from their parents now, in addition to whatever circumstances caused the case to open in the first place. And so having an adult who's accountable to them, who's there to answer their phone call, respond to their questions and fears, even to answer questions about how their parents are doing or how their siblings are doing. Children care about how they feel. They don't care about the legal process or the labels that we put on things that come before us. They care about the experience they're having and, as a child. And so the link to connecting to those feelings and having them be part of this process is the volunteer. So their role is tremendous.
Yeah, and you speak of the volunteers. So, what kinds of things can the CASA volunteer help understand about the situation a child may be experiencing?
Well, I think one of the best ways that a CASA volunteer can fulfill their role is to simply listen to the child without judgment. I mean, their family is getting all this attention from a very powerful state agency. They are everybody's focus, and yet nobody's speaking to them. And that's where the CASA volunteer fills that gap. There might be something they're afraid of or worried about, and they have a guardian who's going to make sure they get to the pediatrician and that their school plan is in place, and their parents are going to have lawyers, and the DCYF has an attorney, and there may be other guardians involved. And the person they can speak to and ask their questions of is going to be that CASA volunteer. And also, that's the person who will bring what's on their mind to my attention. I'm not saying I can always address it in the way the child wants, but it's the only way I'm going to learn about it. And I'm so relieved when I know someone's in that role for that child. It's a tremendous assistance.
Absolutely. So true. We could talk to you all day, but we are out of time. Where can our viewers go to learn more and help?
Well, I think the Friends of Rhode Island Casa.org, that will bring you right to the website, which could connect you if you wanted to volunteer. They have a wonderful training program. You don't have to be a psychologist or anything like that. You just have to care about kids and be willing to be available to a child who could use your help. So I think that's right on the screen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, if you're not in Rhode Island and looking for a program in your area, you can always Google search CASA and you will be redirected to your area's CASA location. Well, lots more ahead coming up on Main Street Living. We'll tell you all about Sharing the Love musical. You don't want to miss it.
Welcome back into Main Street Living, guys. One of our favorite things to do on this show is to highlight businesses that give back and really make a difference. So speaking of making a difference and sharing the love, as they call it, let's talk a little bit about our friends at Subaru of El Cajon.
Yes, so Subaru of El Cajon, of course, they sell Subarus, but they do so much more than just sell cars and more than just being an auto dealer because of their efforts in the community. Over the years, they have helped groups like Make-A-Wish San Diego, Feeding San Diego, and so many others. And recently, they were urged to help artists and artisans out of work due to the pandemic. They said, sure, why not? But we're going to do it through song and dance. I love that. So here to tell us about Sharing the Love, the musical, is Customer Love Manager Randall Blaom, who also happens to be the executive producer of Sharing the Love musical. Wow, Randall, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, folks, it's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Tell us about how the idea of a musical came about.
Well, it's very much like Mickey Rooney. My daddy has a bar and let's make a movie, but it happened a little more simply than that. My husband and I were sitting on the couch one night, and he happens to work for the Old Globe Theater, which, of course, has been completely shut down for over a year and a half. And he said, you're creative. Why don't you do a musical? So I thought about it overnight and said, sure, why not? And then put a call out to Matt Morrow at Diversionary Theater and said, I need some help. And he put me in contact with our director, Stephen Brodebeck. And from there, we put 30 actors and crew together and made a musical in 100 days.
Oh, amazing.
Look at that. Nothing like having a supportive spouse too, right? You know?
Yeah. I think he's sort of regretting it now because he didn't see me for like 90 days, but there you go.
Yeah, you know, like once you get going, you get going. But the most important part of a musical, obviously, Randall, is the theme. So what's the theme of this musical?
So the musical takes place right now, if you will, this week in the pandemic. It's 3 different friends that are bored, gaining weight, playing too many video games, and they decide
very relatable.
I know, right? They need to get away and have some fun, so they decide to go on a road trip and fill their lives with joy rather than misery. And they take a road trip to San Diego, and in that road trip, they find out a lot about who they are as people, themselves, and then what friends really mean to each other.
Wow.
Wow. Well, and one of the really cool parts about this production is you have a lot of local people and performers working on this. How many are local performers?
Actually, almost all of them. In fact, other than the musicians, our orchestrator, James Olmsted, and our backup vocalist, they all live in New York. These are all people that were out of work on Broadway. So it is a bi-coastal thing. So everyone other than that came from San Diego.
Wow. And as far as the takeaway goes from this, what are you hoping your actors and also the viewers will take away from watching the musical?
So on a personal level, what we, the cast and actors, I think take away from it is that if you put an emphasis and a will and desire behind your dream, almost anything can be accomplished. Because this had no right to be made. It shouldn't have been made. Everyone should have said no. I mean, come on, who's ever thought of a car dealer doing a musical, right?
Ooh, I love it.
Pandemic. But everyone said yes. So I think that's the big takeaway, is that if people co-create and you do what you love, almost anything's possible. I think what the audience should take away are two things. One, it's actually a pretty good show. It's about 14 minutes. There's 3 songs. So obviously we couldn't do a full 2-hour musical. But beyond that, what it took in the middle of a pandemic for 30 people that didn't know each other and in 100 days create some piece of magic. Anyone can do that in their lives. You just have to be brave enough to step outside the comfort zone and ask for help.
It's so true. I have to say, I was a thespian and actor in high school, so I know what it's like to put on a musical. It is not easy. So the fact that you were able to do this during a pandemic, incredible.
It was really difficult. In fact, our dancers, everything was done by Zoom. So Stephen, the director, who's also the choreographer, put all the pieces together. The first time our dance team met was 2 days before we filmed the dance, and then we did 2 hours of rehearsal on location. So they had about 4 hours together, and then we're filming.
Wow.
Wow. Now, here's the interesting part, because I've done a stage play before, right? And you're working around people that you've never been around. I know that there are favorite scenes that you film, but the best part about these things are the rehearsals. Like, do you have a funny rehearsal moment that you can share with us?
I do, and the actor will probably kill me, but Julio Catano Lee plays one of our main characters. And when we were filming at Balboa Park, and you'll see this in the film, he does this hand gesture and go, look, I think it's Shakespeare. For whatever reason, he couldn't get it. Every time it was not quite right. And when you're filming on location, you're filming to a piece of playback music. They're not actually singing. So they have to lip sync and do arm movements and make it look like it's all happening naturally, right? So at the end of the film, in the credits, you'll actually see a picture of him doing that. So there were quite a few pieces of film that were very funny, but that one was a tough day.
It sounds like my week last week.
So do you have to be in the San Diego area to catch this show? Is there another way to watch? Where can people find some information about the show?
So great question. So the short answer is no, but kind of yes. I know that's kind of a weird answer, but it is the way that it is. So it's going to be playing on the YourView channel on Cox Cable, which is basically from the southern border to the Inland Empire up to about San Juan Capistrano. Now, they have the exclusive distribution rights from July 10th, which is the world premiere, through August 8th. After August 8th, it'll be available online for everyone to watch. But if you want to learn more about the film, you can actually go to creatingbusinessresults.com. It's a company that a business partner and I own, and you can see behind the scenes footage, you can read cast bios and things like that. But Cox YourView between July 10th and August 8th is the only spot to see it.
Perfect. And it's going to be on at 11:30 a.m. on YourView, California. So if you're watching from California, make sure you check that out. Thank you again so much for all you're doing.
You know what? It has been such a lot of fun. In fact, everyone's asking, when do we do the next one? I think I need a small break before we get into that, though.
I don't blame you.
Definitely take a break there, but thank you so much for stopping by, Randall.
Absolute pleasure. Have a great day.
You too.
You do the same. Wow. Well, we got more Main Street Living coming up next. Stay right there.
Welcome back into Main Street Living, closing out the show here. Speaking of shows, we were just talking about theater a little bit. I think we've all been on a stage at some point. Quincy?
Yeah, I was blessed to play the role of Walter Lee Younger in A Raisin in the Sun once.
Oh my gosh. See, that's so much fun. And for me, I played a role in The Music Man. Couldn't tell you what it was. It was a long time ago in school. I don't recall, but yes, I was in a musical. Danielle?
I can see Cheryl in theater for sure. And I actually was in a production of Stuart Little when I was very little, so that was fun.
What did you do in Stuart Little?
I was the mom. Yeah, I was Mrs. Little, like Gina Davis, you know.
Wow.
Some people made the comparison.
How old were you when you played the mom?
8.
Okay, I love it.
Very mature 8. Yeah.
Well, look at that. I'm sure people enjoy watching you. Just like if you enjoy watching the show, you can catch us on our Cox Contour app all times of the day.
And that's great. And of course, you can catch brand new episodes of us right here on Main Street Living every Monday night, 9 p.m. local time. So make sure you join us then as we take another stroll down Main Street.